oxytocin, the main thing that it does is stimulate like uterine contractions during childbirth as well as milk ejection. So I'm just going to write that as so the oxytocin is really like a hormonal trigger for milk ejection. And both of these, if y'all remember, between the negative and the positive feedback, both of these are positive feedback mechanisms. So you're at that homeostatic level during these situations, such as during childbirth, your homeostatic level is going to leave. So your oxytocin levels are going to jump higher. They're not going to be at that normal homeostatic level that it's used to. But because this is a positive feedback, it's not going to inhibit that factor, like the thing that changed it, that brought it out of its homeostatic balance. It's actually going to help amplify it. So the uterine contractions, when you have that release of oxytocin, is going to help promote and amplify those contractions, as well as with the milk ejection. It's going to be a trigger for that. But your antidiuretic hormone, with the ADH, what this really does is target your kidney tubules, and they're going to reabsorb more water to either like prevent or inhibit the formation of urine. So because this is an antidiuretic, so it's not going to want to release water, it likes to hold water in. So I'm just going to kind of write that out real quick. Reabsorb more water. Right. So with your ADH, you have, like, it can be triggered by a number of things. So the, I want to say, I'm going to like go through these notes to make sure that I don't miss anything for y'all. But the hypothalamus, so this is your ADH, it comes from the adenohypophysis. So you know that it is hormonally controlled, again, from the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus has these osmoreceptors, osmo meaning water, because this has to do with the water retention or release. So they're going to monitor solute concentration. And it's very important to have the solute concentration in that balance, in that homeostatic range. Because if you have too many solutes, your body's going to want to balance it out by retaining water, by holding it in. And so that's why if you have too high a concentration of solutes, the hypothalamus is going to signal to that adenohypophysis like that posterior pituitary is triggered to secrete ADH. So this again targets those kidney tubules. It can also be released when it can be triggered by pain, low blood pressure, or like certain drugs. For low blood pressure, when you think about it, if you have like all of your veins, arteries, all those blood vessels, and they're like this, they can be like, say that they're this big, and you have like the normal blood and water and solute and everything that's in it, those normal concentrations. If your blood pressure drops, that means the amount that's going through your like blood vessels decreases. So the pressure of the fluid against the actual like tube is not as strong. That's why it's a lower pressure, it's a low blood pressure. And when that happens, your body wants to fix it. It's not in that homeostatic level, right? It wants to increase it, bring it back to that normal blood pressure range, and it does that by retaining water so that water can be part of that blood and bring it back from low to normal. But then you have those high concentrations will cause vasoconstriction. So if you have like a lot of water, you have like your tube, like your blood vessel, and you have a lot of fluid in here, it's going to cause a lot of pressure. It might like have like a little bit of leeway, but it's not just gonna get like super, it won't just expand to whatever fits its need. You're gonna have that vasoconstriction and increases blood pressure. But with ADH, it is, I'm not sure I mentioned it, so I'm in this note. So I'm just gonna go over it real quick. There are two main homeostatic imbalances. The first one is diabetes insipidus. And so this is that ADH deficiency that is due to like a damage of either the hypothalamus or the posterior pituitary. And what this does is if you have a deficiency of ADH, you don't have the ability to retain water. So what's going to happen is you're going to cause like excess urination. You're going to be thirsty all the time. So you have to keep very well hydrated because your body isn't able to retain the water that it's meant to. But then the next one is syndrome of inappropriate ADH secretion, or SIADH. And this is too much retention of fluid. So it's pretty much the opposite of diabetes insipidus. You're going to have that retention of fluid. It's going to cause like headaches, disorientation, and really the way to fix that is like fluid restriction and then like monitoring your blood sodium levels. But those are the two main homeostatic imbalances. From there, we get into growth hormone. So there's actually quite a lot with growth hormone, but the overview, I'm gonna just kind of write this in. It's going to, so it says stimulates most cells to enlarge and divide, and then you have major targets are bone and skeletal muscle. Right, so your growth hormone does pretty much what it says, like it is its name. It's also called somatotropin, and that's because they're produced by somatotropic cells. It has that direct action with metabolism and then indirectly growth promoting actions. So what the growth hormone, what GH essentially is, it's this anabolic hormone, so it's tissue building. You have the glycogen breakdown in the liver, and that will decrease the rate of glucose uptake, as well as metabolism will decrease that metabolism. And then you have that conserving of glucose, that's that sparing action. And that is going to raise the blood glucose levels, so you kind of see it in there. But this is this main factor of your growth hormone that's stimulating most cells to enlarge and divide. That's what it does. It helps grow, mainly bone skeletons. There are several regulations of secretion for this. So with the growth hormone, the release or inhibition is like mainly regulated by the hypothalamic hormones, right? Because it comes from this adenohypophysis. And so you have what's called growth hormone releasing hormone, or GHRH. And again, it does exactly what it says in its name. It is going to stimulate GH release. It's going to stimulate growth hormone release. So growth hormone releasing hormone stimulates the release of growth hormone. And this is really triggered by growth hormone being low in the blood, or low glucose, or if you have high amino acid levels, there's that too. But then you also have growth hormone inhibiting hormone. So you kind of have to balance it out. If there's too much being secreted, there's got to be a way to kind of stop it, bring it back a little bit. So your body doesn't have too much going through your system, because too much of anything is not good.